This podcast is sponsored by Live.Word of Freeman J. Burns Realty. Are you looking to buy or sell a home or investment property in Charlotte, North Carolina, or any of the surrounding cities? If so, contact me. You can reach me by email at nitra@freemanjburns.com. That's Nitra, Nitra, at Freeman, the letter J, Burns.com. At Burns Realty, we are passionate about providing a world class experience and building relationships that will last long after your real estate transaction.
They say this is a big rich town. I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it. This is where
You could be making a lot more money than what you're making up in here if you would just use what you got to get what you want and stop messing with this chump change.
Welcome to the third episode of
Live.Laugh.Word.
I am Chris Word,
And I'm Nitra.Word.
and we have a very exciting show for you today. We're going to do something a little different. I know in the first two episodes we talked about making plans for 2017 and relationship exercises, but in this episode we're going to go in a different direction. Isn't that right?
Yes, we're going to talk about our financial future.
Yes, retirement,
Yes.
i.e., retirement. So right now, the age of retirement is what, 62, 65?
And they say it's going to be raised to 67.
So it's going to keep moving.
Basically,
And for millennials, millennials and 80s babies,
yes,
like you and I, we should all be in our, what's that, 30s or getting to our
late
30s?
20s,
Late
to
20s, 30s. Yes, so this is a perfect time to start planning for your retirement. I mean, that's basically half the age of retirement that we're in right now. So, how do you plan for your retirement? When did you start?
I started when I was working at Ernst & Young, and they offered the 401k with the employer match, and I just decided this sounds cool.
I agree. I agree. I remember sitting down and they said, "Do you want the 401k plan? I think you should get it." And I was like, yes, I will take that."
And I'll be honest, I didn't start my first year.
You didn't?
It
Okay.
started my second year. The first year I was like, oh, I need all my money.
Right,
I'm
right.
a fresh college grad, and yeah.
Yeah, now I would say I did start that first year. I didn't really understand everything about it. A lot of that is because I heard a lot about pensions and I expected to be a part of the pension plan. And when they brought this 401k, I didn't know the difference, or it really wasn't explained the
Right.
difference.
And no one really took the time to explain it to us. It's not as if there was a college class that taught you about life skills and 401ks. And I mean, my mother was just like, go ahead and do it. It'll help
Right.
you in retirement. But no one really explained the semantics of how it works and what it really stood for.
So the good news is we're going to go very high level over some of the definitions of what the pension plan is in terms of a defined benefit and the 401k is in terms of a defined contribution. So we'll be very high level, so don't freak out. So
Yes.
I'll just start with saying a pension plan is a company liability to the employee. It says over,
Using all those big accounting words.
yes, it's a, I'll pay you, me company will pay my employee this amount of money because of the service that you have done
Or the number of years
or
they
the number of
worked.
years you worked. And they calculate that in a lot of complex ways. But a defined benefit plan is just that. It's saying when you reach the age of retirement, I company promise to pay you this amount for so many years. You're defining the benefit that that employee will get when they reach the age of retirement.
Very good, huh?
Thank you. Thank you. So the difference now that a lot of companies are moving to, they're getting away from that defined benefit because if you can imagine over so many years, and I'll just say 30 years, if right now we're in our 30s and we'll be retired in our 60s, then that company has to carry that responsibility for 30 years for that employee that may or may not still be with the business. So a lot of companies are getting away from that idea and going more to a 401k or defined contribution. And that is the exact opposite. It's saying, I'll give you the money now, and whatever you do with it is your choice. You can invest it in stocks, you can do mutual funds, but I'll give it to you now, and then you carry the responsibility into your retirement.
Correct.
Yes, so long story short, that's the difference. So when you hear that, or your cousins or anyone hear that, you're able to provide them some high levels. And I will pause here and say, I don't consider myself a financial planner or an expert in financial planning. So if you want more detail, please find someone. I just met someone yesterday from Northwestern Mutual who helped and will help us further our financial success and plans.
Uh-huh.
Yes, okay. Being real short this morning. Okay, so where do we go from here? I'm going to do one more plug and then we'll go forward. One of the books that really helped me is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Shout out to Robert Kiyosaki and the Cash Flow podcast and just everything Rich Dad Poor Dad.
And I know that we reference him a lot, but reading his books, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and Unfair Advantage,
Yes.
which was even better to me than Rich Dad Poor Dad, has truly changed our way of thinking when it
Yes.
comes to money and finances
Yes.
and investing.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And it's allowed us to open our eyes to different opportunities and possibilities, excuse me, in ways for planning for our retirement that goes beyond just a pension or 401k. So those are the things that we're going to talk about today and in a little more detail on this podcast. So let's talk about the stock market. I know you had a lot of thoughts on the stock market.
Well, let's just talk about how the 401k works.
Okay.
You put in your defined contribution, whatever amount that you're contributing, and there are maxes to those amounts
Yes.
per the IRS.
Yes.
Don't quote me, I'm not a tax accountant.
And I think it's like $5,500 a year that you're maxed out at putting in. And the great thing about it is you have until you file your return in the following year to contribute into
Correct.
the last year. So, for instance, right now you have until April 15th, and that's just the last day, to contribute to 2016's max.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
No problem. Help out when I can.
Okay. So you put your amount in the 401k, and then your company also puts in their match. And basically that amount is just invested into the stock market, whatever kind of mix of mutual funds they have, or even if you go in to select various stocks of your own that you would like to personally invest in, whether it's Google,
Verizon,
Amazon,
right,
anything like that.
Right.
And basically your money kind of just sits there and it grows as the stock market grows.
Right.
But then again, it also declines as the stock market declines.
Very true.
And I believe that's the risk that a lot of people, don't think of.
Right.
And I know all the financial planners out there will say, well, you have to just ride the wave. And the longer, if you're in it for the long term,
right,
then the market will always hold out and it will always be great.
Right.
But in my mind, I always think about that whole, 2002 era with Enron.
Right.
I remember all those people who were literally their funds went to zero.
Right. Their whole life savings and everything about their retirement and their net worth was in the stock market and their retirement accounts, or even just in stocks in general.
And a lot of them were invested in Enron stock.
Yes. A company match or
exactly.
company share. And so I will say this about the stock market. It is very confusing to novice or people who aren't familiar with some of the financial terms. And you really have to understand, we'll say, take Verizon, for instance. You have to understand Verizon and what their plan is and what their intent is in order to be fully confident in the stock. Otherwise, you're just buying it because you see the commercial or because you own a Verizon cell phone and that's the plan that you have. But there's some very difficult calculations and formulas like price to sale or earnings per share, dividend yield. There's a lot of different things about investing in the stock market that can be really challenging for someone to just do on a whim. And I personally have found that unless you're in it every day, learning every day, or researching every day, or watching the stock market every day, then you'll just kind of ride the wave or pick the stocks based on a whim.
I agree.
Do you have a separate stock account, or have you ever gotten involved in buying or selling stock outside of your 401k?
Yeah, I did have an E-Trade account when I was in college.
What did you think about it?
I liked it. It was a pretty cool.
Was it part of a project or just a?
Yeah, it was in my investment class at Florida A&M University. It was a financial. Okay, don't quote me on it. A financial class. and we talked about investments, and we had a club that met afterwards, and we took $1,000. I know that sounds like a lot for a college student, but we did, of our personal funds, and opened up an E-Trade account. And I remember the stock that I invested in was Monster Energy drink. And it was pretty good. It was a great learning experience just to see how it all worked, how you could, people really make money.
Okay. How do they?
Well, good for me. I was in it. I bought, I want to say, about 100 shares or 120 shares of the Monster Energy, and then I had some shares of some other stock, but the majority of my money was invested in Monster. And then it had a 2-for-1 stock split.
Okay.
So I was able to double my shares.
Okay.
And then the price went up, and then I got scared. I didn't want to let it go. It was a new product at that time. No one really knew about it. And sometimes I am now kicking myself that I should have kept it. Maybe I would have
think it's still around.
It definitely still around.
Right.
I would have made a whole lot more money. But, after I was able to get a couple of bucks in, I sold it. And I was like, wow, it's just that easy, huh?
Right, yeah. I remember when I first bought Netflix. I want to say that was 2008 or so. And I purchased the stock on myself with a TD Ameritrade account or by myself. And I want to say I bought maybe 10 or 20 shares. And I think at the time the stock was like $60. And again, not quoting, just kind of throwing out a few numbers here. And around the same time, or maybe a year later, that's when the company decided to split up their internet streaming fee and the home delivery fee. And I remember that was a huge thing, and people were like, the company's going to fail. And there was this big conversation around Netflix. I think they even fired the CEO at the time.
Oh, wow.
Or shortly thereafter. And I got nervous, and I was like, I don't want to lose so much money. And I got off. I sold, what did I say, 20? I sold 18 of those shares. I only kept 2 because I'm like, we're going to see what it does. But I'm more comfortable risking 2 shares than 20. So I took that money, took the 18 money profit and bought something else. But interestingly enough, shortly thereafter, they started to do their own movies. They started to do their own TV shows. And the company really started to take off. Now I believe the share is worth $150 or $200 a share. So if I would have just rode the wave, I could have made money. But the question is, how much are you willing to ride? And right now, we just pulled it up. The stock is worth $130 a share. So I made a little bit of money in that short period of time. But if I would have kept those 20 shares, I could have made a lot.
Yeah.
It's just, staying grounded through those downturns.
It's really a gamble. And I guess that's my biggest thing when you think of the market at the end of the day. People say, it's safer than gambling. You hold on. But at the end of the day, it's a gamble on companies that they're going to perform and be able to hold out the price of their shares, and not just hold out that price, that those shares are going to increase over time.
True.
And it's kind of scary thinking about leaving your whole retirement savings to a gamble.
Yes.
And I'm not to oversimplify it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of
it really
what
is.
it is.
It really is. I mean, a lot of people say they don't gamble in Vegas or they don't gamble at a casino, but they have their money in the stock market, and you're taking a gamble on that company that you're buying. And yes, the company has stores that you can see, but what was that? Macy's just put out a report that they're closing down stores, and Sears is closing down stores, and Walmart is laying off people. I just read that article. So companies increase and decrease, and they perform, and then they
But yet
decline.
the stock market is still doing great.
And I think that's interesting. If no one can see the irony in that, then I think
And
that's
that
the illusion, right? If you have companies that are declining, but the stock market is saying is at a record high, how is that possible?
Right. So the best thing we can do is just kind of protect ourselves against those risks, because at the end of the day, you need something for retirement. And for most people, the 401k or pension plan is kind of the easiest way to just put that money aside. It's automatically taken out of your paycheck. You don't have to worry about it, because let's be honest, if it were up to us when we got our paycheck to say, I'm going to put X amount of dollars away for retirement, I would say a lot of us, it probably just would not be there. Because it would be too accessible.
Too accessible. And that's the one great benefit of the structure of the 401k, is that you cannot touch it. And if you do, other than certain reasons, buying a house or a family emergency, then you will be penalized for doing so, meaning they're going to take more money of your own money. But it prevents you from touching that money until the age of retirement, and that's a great benefit of it. But some of the things that how it's structured to me is just not safe.
Right. So on that note, for me personally, I've decided to take my money from my current 401k holder, Fidelity, and put it into a self-directed IRA.
Self-directed.
Yes, self-directed.
I remember we heard that for the first time and we were like during the headlights when
we were like, what is that?
Right, self-directed IRA. So really, instead of investing in or giving the money to Fidelity and letting them invest it in the stock market, what a self-directed IRA does is it puts the money in an IRA or 401k account. Same limitations on your ability to touch it, but now you, as the owner of the account, can determine what you're investing that money in.
Yes, and it also allows for alternative investments. For instance, real estate.
Really?
Which is something Chris and I are very interested in.
Yes.
So that's going to be one of my goals in 2017, to take my funds. I've already put it into the self-directed IRA, but now I'm on the lookout for a rental property to basically put my money into. So I will take my self-directed IRA money, buy an additional rental property, and everything, all the money that rental property makes will go back into my 401k. So basically building
up
my wealth. Exactly. Building my retirement. Income. So instead of doing stocks, which to me are a little bit more risky,
yes,
I'm taking the choice to do real estate, which I know is a tangible asset that is worth something.
So let's talk about something here for a second, because I looked at something the other day. I went into my Fidelity account for 2016. I looked at the opening balance, the amount I contributed, the amount my company contributed, or sorry, my job contributed, and then the amount of increase in terms of the stock values that went up throughout the year.
Okay.
And then the ending balance. So if you take out the amount that I contributed, the amount my job contributed, and just look at the stock change, my account really only went up 1.82%. We'll say
for the year.
For the year, 2%.
Wow, that's really low.
But now when we think about the self-directed IRA and buying property, let's say we bought a rental property. Every month that tenant pays the rent, that rent goes back into the self-directed IRA account, and each month it goes up, we'll say $500 or $600, whatever that rent amount is. To me, that sounds like a better investment.
Yeah, I actually have an example. So per Investopedia, the average annual rate of return on a 401k plan is anywhere between 5 to 8%, which is why I said your 1.76 seemed a bit low. However, they also said that, this was USA News, said that the average balance in a 401k was about $91,000. Okay. So in my example, I'm going to say you bought a rental property. It's not even $91,000. Let's say the rental property costs $75,000. So you didn't have to use the total amount in your 401k. And let's say we charge rent in the amount of $850 per month, which is reasonable. So over a course of a year, you have gained $10,200 in rental income.
Just rental income.
That's just rental income, saying that's from the $850 per month times 12 months. Okay. That actually calculates to be a 13.6% return.
So how are you doing that? 13.6.
13.6. I'm taking my net profits, which is the 10,200, divided by my initial investment of the 75,000, times 100, which is the formula for ROI, which is return on investment. And it gives me my 13.6%, which you can see, more than doubles that 5 to 8%.
That was a USA Today mention?
No, that was per Investopedia.
Oh, Investopedia.
5 to 8% that a 401k would yield.
That's a huge percentage.
It's a huge difference. And at the end of the day, I don't own stock. I actually own the property. Exactly. So if I wanted to actually sell that property, and you often can sell it for more or for at least what you paid for it.
Right.
unless we have another 2008 housing downturn,
Right.
which I hope not. You'll be able to get your money back and
Right.
actually have something to show for it.
Right.
And so I just feel a little bit more secure in knowing that it's an actual piece of property that
Right.
I own versus stock certificates
Right.
that I own. So I'm really excited about it.
And I am as well, because we talk about that a lot. And here's a few other advantages of it. Now, you can't use the property for personal use. That's one of the kind of contingents on the self-directed IRA and buying real estate. You can't buy it and say, "Oh, we're going to live in it." You can't
Correct.
do
You
that.
can't do that.
And you can't even buy a vacation home and say, "Well, we're going to use that for our vacation home." That's one of the limitations. However, when you do reach the age of retirement, you do now have access to that property for your own personal use.
True.
So you can buy, we'll say, a home on the sandy beaches of California if you're able to do so.
Well, let's just hope it's making a return.
Right, true. If you're able, yes.
That's the whole point.
It's making a return. So wherever it is, even if it's on Lake of the Ozarks for people around the Missouri area, or Lake Norman here if you're in the Charlotte area, if you're buying a nice property that you believe people can rent, either Airbnb or even just live in as a rental, whenever you reach age of retirement, you now have access to that property for your personal use.
Right.
So you just bought a vacation home without really buying a vacation home with a mortgage and through means like that. So that's another great benefit of it.
It is.
I'm excited about it, by the way.
Right. But I'll also say check with if you are currently employed. Being that I am self-employed, it was easier for me to roll my funds into a self-directed IRA. I know there are some stipulations out there.
Right.
If you're currently employed and still receiving matching contributions from your employer, if you can do that or not.
Right.
So I am not the expert. I'm just saying what I am currently doing, but definitely something for all the people who are self-employed that you can research.
Yes. Or if you've already left the previous company and you carried a balance in their 401k.
Right. Instead of rolling it over into your new 401k, you can roll over that balance into a self-directed IRA.
Yes, but if you're currently with the company, you cannot move that money unless you leave the company, or you can take a draw like a hardship draw or buying a house for your personal use, but not for self-directed. So again, we're not holding ourselves out to be experts. We're just giving information so you can do your own research and contact your realtors, contact your 401k plan sponsor, or even just consider creating or starting a 401k or an IRA. There are great tools for your retirement, and these are things that we should definitely be talking about at this age. We have to start planning because it's going to come.
We have to start planning because, like they said, per that article, what article was that? It was a CNN article in 2034 that the Social Security Fund will not be able to fund 100% of the benefits, meaning
Yes.
they're going to kind of run out of money to
Right.
give everyone 100% of what they owe them. So they'll be able to pay them 79 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Meaning if you were getting $2,000 a month from Social Security in 2034, you'll be getting $1,580.
Wow.
79% of that, because the money just won't be there.
Wow.
And 2034 is not so far away.
Right.
I'm wondering, what does that mean for us when it's time for us to retire?
Right.
Will that money be there?
And I don't believe it will be. I mean, the reason why Social Security is working right now is because there's so many people in the workforce between, we'll say, the age of 23 to the age of retirement of 65. There's so many people in that bubble of workforce that we're able to fund the current Social Security payments. But when you get to that 2034 or 2040, the majority of the people in the workforce are going to be reaching the age of retirement. I think we'll be in that bubble somewhere. And will there be enough young people coming in, working, paying into the Social Security? And I don't believe that will happen just with the current population trends. So plan. It's time to start planning.
It's time to plan ahead and get everything in order. And I know it sounds so abstract and far away, but it's definitely like our parents tell us, the earlier we start, the better it will be. So I'm definitely trying to get all my ducks in a row.
Yes, so am I. I'm definitely and trying to do that. I do want to mention one other thing, and this will be very high level. We were speaking with someone from Benetrends, and just in our conversation, we talked about a few things regarding the use of your 401k or IRA to create a C corporation.
Oh, yeah.
And that C corporation can then, the stock that you're buying in your own personal C corporation can then go out and buy a business or do another type of investment. It's a different option.
It's a different option, and I would caution and say that's for people who are probably already into a business or are running a business. If you had 401k that you brought over from a previous employer before you started your business, definitely something to think about. But if you're just a everyday worker employee with no employees of your own and no business, then
right, this may not be
the option. However, the self-directed is open for anyone.
Yes, I'm really just saying this is things that I heard about and we heard about in meetings or in conversations. So please do your own research. You can go to your internet right now and look up Benetrends. That's one of the companies. You can look up American IRA.
Yeah, they're who we go through for the self-directed IRA.
Yes, and even research self-directed IRA on Wikipedia, and a lot of different options will come up for your specific area. But again, we can't stress this enough. We have to start planning. We're just not sure where things are going to go. We're not sure how healthy the stock market actually is, and we're not sure if Social Security will be there and how valuable it will be.
So it's just really another goal of taking charge of your future and your plans and being intentional about what you want to be there when you retire and how you want it to look.
Yes, yes. And so with that, we'll end this section of the podcast. I do want to kind of slightly go into our investment corner.
Okay.
To just talk about the steps that we've taken for the self-directed IRA. With that being said, we contacted American IRA and we opened up an account. It took us maybe a day to fill out the paperwork, fax it over, and then we funded the account, and they really just sold all of the stock out of Fidelity and transferred the funds into American IRA.
Correct.
And now we are in the process now of researching and trying to identify
a property
to buy, because that is our next step to securing our 401k and trying to get a larger return out of it.
True.
Now, what about flipping? We've heard about people using their self-directed IRAs to flip.
Oh, yeah, you can use the self-directed IRA to buy a flip. All the expenses for that flip that you have to buy, the materials and drywall and tiles or whatever it is, have to come out the 401k, and all the money you gain from it will have to go back into the 401k. The only caveat I would say with flipping is that, when if you make a huge return, you have to put it into another flip.
Yes.
So that you escape the capital gains tax from the amount of money that you gain from the flip.
Right.
So that would be an option as well. Yes. Are you up for a flip?
I am. And there's actually some companies out there you can invest in their company utilizing your 401 or self-directed IRA to finance their flip, and they'll give you a percentage back. I know that's specifically something here in Charlotte. I'm not sure of your area. Again, do your own research, but I just want to give you information. One of the things David Banner said when he came to Charlotte is, I don't care what you think as long as you think.
I don't care what you think about me as long as you think. I think that's the mantra.
Yes. So we don't care what you think about us or what's going on, but if we're able to, again, give you that little nugget of information and you do your research.
Or make you think about just to know that there are other options out there.
Yes, that is the whole point. There are other things out there. So we would like to say thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us for another week. And we also want to encourage you all to write to us and give us any questions or any topics you would like us to speak on. We love hearing from you.
Yes.
We see your Facebook comments and YouTube comments, and we are very grateful and thankful for you all supporting us in our goal of 2017.
Yes, absolutely. You can reach us at Live.Laugh.Word at gmail.com. I'll say that one more time.
Live.Laugh.Word at gmail.com.
And you can also find us on YouTube by that same Live.Laugh.Word and Instagram.
Yes.
as well. Live, laugh, word. We love to hear from you. And if you have any questions about today's topic, prior topics, or some things that you would like to hear us talk on in the future, please feel free. We would love to hear from you.
Until next
They
week.
say
Until
this
next
is a big rich town. I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it. This is where it goes down. I just happen to come up hard. Legal or illegal, baby, I gotta make it.